Let's unpack those numbers now with Brian Thomas. He's the manager of the Amplify SCI Balanced Fund. Thank you very much and welcome to our market slot, Brian. Let's start with the overall market movements that we saw. Not a great day for the JSE, and I anticipate everyone is kind of watching on to see what the United States Federal Reserve is going to announce in terms of interest rates.
Exactly right, Rofhiwa. I hope you can hear me. I think we were having some audio problems earlier. But you're exactly right. It's all about what's going to happen with the Fed tonight. If you look at what the market is pricing in, so what the expectations of the individual participants in the market think is going to happen with Fed interest rates tonight, they're actually pricing in a hike of over 75 basis points. So we think it's probably going to be 75 basis points when they announce at 8 o'clock this evening. But there is a chance, there's an outside chance of 100 basis points. If it is only 75, it's probably going to be reasonably positive for US markets, but 100 would not be a good scenario at all.
What would that scenario mean for emerging markets like our own? I mean, putting aside the fact that our own Reserve Bank is going to be aggressive in its interest rate hike, the world's biggest economy going 75 basis points or even 100, as you've just indicated. Are there any implications directly or indirectly for emerging markets like us?
Well, look, I think what's quite interesting is that our central bank follows on after the Fed has their meeting, and they'll meet tomorrow and give us their result tomorrow. It'll probably mean that if they did 100, say, it might make our central bank even more hawkish than they are at the moment. We think that our central bank's probably going to hike by probably 75 basis points tomorrow as well, is kind of what the market is pricing at the moment. If the Fed did 100, could ours do 100? It's possible, but I don't think it's likely. I mean, it's interesting. Earlier in the week, I think you probably spoke about it yesterday, but the Swedish Riksbank raised rates 100 basis points yesterday, and that was a bit of a surprise. So there are a lot of surprises that are coming out of central banks at the moment.
Surprises that don't bode well for our pockets, Brian. Let's speak about the local units, the Rand recovering some of those major losses we've seen over the last few days. Is there any particular story there about the local unit?
Look, there was inflation data that was out today. I'm not sure it was really the inflation data that drove the Rand to the extent that you're mentioning. The issue on the Rand is that we all fixate on the Rand dollar. Now, if you actually look at the Rand versus the pound or the euro, which is some of our bigger trading partners out there, if you look at it on a rolling 1 year basis, both of them we're basically flat. So really what we've seen is a bout of dollar strength that has come into the world economies and has impacted a number of different currencies, not just the Rand. We talked earlier about the Swedish Riksbank. Actually, with them raising their rates by 100 basis points yesterday, that often is done to try and attract capital into the market and drive your currency stronger. But yet they at a kind of 21-year low on the Swedish currency. So it's a weird old world out there at the moment.
No, it really is. Some company news before we wrap up, Brian. Thungela Resources, yesterday they announced that they had reached a wage agreement with NUM, the workers, of about 6% over the next 3 years. Today, though, the share price fell over 15%. Was there a little bit of concern about what the next 3 years is going to look like in terms of inflation, or was there another driver of the drop that we saw today?
No, it was purely the dividend that they declared. So they declared a 60 Rand dividend today, which if you basically add that back to where it closed the previous day, because you know when the stock goes ex-dividend, the shareholders receive that dividend. The share price is actually up a small 0.4%. But the interesting thing on Thungela is it looks like at the moment with where the coal prices are, that they are generating effectively 20 Rand a share of dividend, or thereabouts is our calculation, every month that they're in operation with these very high coal prices. So, you know, I think it was that and Impala Platinum, which also looked like it fell on the day, was also a story of going ex-dividend.
Thank you so much, Brian, for joining us this evening. Brian Thomas, manager of Amplify SCI's Balanced Fund, joining us to speak about the market day that was. And that, of course, is all we have in your